Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray you're well. Alhamdulillahi Rabbi. Let's start Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Nasta'in ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim alladhina an'amta alayhim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallama wa baraka ala Sayyidina Muhammad وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وامنحنا يا ربنا علما وعملا وقربا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا كريم. So, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We were looking at the verse of Surah Al-An'am, and the last thing we looked at was some beautiful verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the gifts He's given us. And what you'll realize when you look at the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to the mind and He talks to the heart. So He talks to the mind with rational arguments. And they're either directly stated or they're implied, or, an avenue into them is given, and then the human being works out the rest. So that's one way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals with us. And then the second way is He speaks to our heart. And sometimes it's both together. And speaking to the heart is usually the stronger way. Rationally, yes, but not everyone can think, but people can feel. And when He says, I've created this, and I've created this, and I've created this, all for you, I've done this for you, I've done that for you, it moves the heart. Human beings generally tend to feel grateful towards people who are good to them and who have done them favors. And the greatest favors that anyone has are the favors of God. And, just imagine this, a disbeliever who doesn't want to believe and, insults God, a'udhu billah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still blesses him, right? Still gives him blessings and gives him ease and afiyah. And so it's a huge gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we looked at Him addressing the hearts and addressing the minds, providing proofs of His oneness and His divinity. And then now it's going to have a practical effect. It shows only Allah can make things forbidden, and only Allah can make things permissible. And anything that, the pagan Arabs chose, and anything they got from their jinn and their shayateen, none of it is endorsed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. None of it. So they just shot themselves in the foot by doing that. So let's go to the verse. Okay. So He says, ثمانية أزواج من الضأن اثنين ومن المعز اثنين. Allah has created 4 pairs, right? 8 that are, connected, right? So 4 pairs. So zawj is something that has a counterpart. So a male that has a female as a counterpart, right? So, and it can also mean a spouse, but obviously that's not intended here. So Allah has created 4 pairs. من الضأن اثنين ومن المعز اثنين. From the sheep 2 and from the goat 2. قُلْ الذَّكَرَيْنِ. So when you recite this, you have to recite this with the mad lazim. So you're going to stretch it to 6. So it's like that because of the 2 hamzas, and then the hamza of wasl. So it's stretched into make it into a question. So you say الذَّكَرَيْنِ حَرَّمَ أَمِ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. Okay, so ask, has He forbidden to you 2 males or 2 of your females, right? Or أَمَّا اشْتَمَلَتْ عَلَيْهِ أَرْحَامُ الْإِثْنَيْنِ. Or what is in the wombs of 2 females, meaning one of each type. Tell me with knowledge if what you say is true. نَبِّئُونِي بِنَبَإٍ بِعِلْمٍ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Okay, so He says ثمانية أزواج. It's what's implied. He's saying He created for you, as a blessing for you, 8 types of animals. So if this is the case, then enjoy the animals, benefit from the animals, and turn back to God, out of obedience and gratitude and love and worship him, right? Show appreciation. So it says ثمانية أزواج, 8 types. من الضأن اثنين, from the ضأن 2. So the ضأن is a sheep, right? And the two animal, the male sheep is called a kabsh, and the female one is called a na'ja, right? And so he's saying from the sheep there are 2 types, the kabsh and the na'ja. And the kabsh isn't always the kabsh and the na'ja. Okay. Anyway, so he says قل الذكرين حرم sorry, the ma'iz, which is a goat. So technically, these two are considered to be one species. When it comes to fiqh, you can slaughter a goat or a sheep. They're very similar, so you can consider them one. And the taste is very similar as well, so they're treated as one. So the sheep, the da'an, its male is called a kabsh, and then its female is called a na'ja. And the ma'iz, that's the goat, right? And so the ma'iz is the goat. Its male is called the ans, and its female is called its male is called the tais, and the female goat is referred to, is called an ans, right? And that's how they get there. So it says ثمانية أزواج من الضأن اثنين, 2, meaning a male and a female from the sheep, ومن المعز اثنين, and 2 from the goat, male and female. قل, say to them, O Messenger, refute their batil claims and assertions, refute it all. الذكرين حرم أم الأنثيين, has Allah forbidden the 2 male types of these, or has he forbidden the female types? Neither, right? He's saying he's created these for us, for us to benefit from, and neither, they're there for humanity. But obviously they can't prove it. They were just following the works of people like Amr ibn Luhay, the man who first introduced idols into the Kaaba. Had no idea what was going on, no proof from God. Just him and his whims and desires, and that's what he did, and that's where the Arabs ended up committing shirk. So he's going to have to pay for that on the Day of Judgment. Allah protect us, right? So, and then he says, أَمَّا اشْتَمَلَتْ عَلَيْهِ أَرْحَامُ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ, or is it the case that it's what the wombs of 2 females carry, right? أَرْحَامُ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. Yeah. So is it the case of one of the females carries a male, the other one carries a female, and then those 2 are what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden? Then he says, نَبِّئُونِي بِعِلْمٍ, tell me. As you know, Naba refers to some really powerful, consequential news. So tell me this, بِعِلْمٍ, with true, certain, sound knowledge, right? نَبِّئُونِي بِعِلْمٍ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ, if you're there speaking the truth. And what can you say, right? They just made it up, and they have no knowledge, they have no certainty, they have no proof. They just made it up. So they said here, so they just have to suffer for their crimes. نَبِّئُونِي بِعِلْمٍ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ, if you really are truthful. Then he says, then tell me with knowledge, right? Based on true sound knowledge, if you're speaking the truth. But they're not speaking the truth, so they get treated as liars, and that's as simple as it is. So then he says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمِنَ الْإِبِلِ اثْنَيْنِ وَمِنَ الْبَقَرِ اثْنَيْنِ, and from the camels there are 2 types, male and female, and from the cows there are 2 types, male and females, right? So none of their categorizations apply here. Then he says, الذكرين حرم أم الأنثيين, is it the males, is it the 2 males that he's forbidden, or is it the 2 females, right? And then he says, أَمَّا اشْتَمَلَتْ عَلَيْهِ أَرْحَامُ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ, or is the thing that he's supposedly forbidden, is that which the wombs of two females contain, meaning one male and one female, right? Arhamul unthain. Neither, they just made it all up. So he says, Am kuntum shuhada, were you witnesses, you could say, or what it means present, were you actually there, right? Am kuntum shuhada idh wasakumullahu bihada, were you actually present when Allah gave you this commandment? A wasiyya is a very strong, powerful injunction which the person should listen to because it's for his benefit, right? And so he says, Am kuntum shuhada'a idh wasakumullahu bihada, were you present when Allah gave you this wasiyah, this injunction, go and do this, right? And he gave it to humanity for their benefit, right? Take these commandments, you learn them, apply them, and you'll benefit. That's why he's saying, were you Muslims? Not Muslims, were you present when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you this injunction? فَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ اِفْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا لِيُضِلَّ النَّاسَ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. So now 2 points here. So who is the bigger wrongdoer? Dhulm, as we said, either talks about treating something in other than its rightful way, or putting something in other than its appropriate place. So who is the one committing dhulm here? So he says, فَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ, it's them, right? فَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ اِفْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. Who is a bigger wrongdoer? So there's a category of the biggest criminals, and no one's greater than them, but they're all in here, right? So who is the most wrong person, the biggest wrongdoer, zalim, than the one who knowingly concocts a lie against God, a lie about God? You have the truth in the Quran, go and tell them that, right? No, they have the ulterior motive. Maybe someone's born into a particular religion, he doesn't want to change it, whatever, so he'll just lie about God just to keep himself and those close to him in that false religion, right? So who's a bigger criminal, bigger zalim than the one who lies about God? لِيُضِلَّ النَّاسَ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ, in order for him to misguide people without knowledge. People who don't have the prerequisite knowledge, he misguides them. And you see people like this, right? Oh, this is not right, and this is shirk, and this is that, and this is that, and it's not what the Prophet taught, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rather, the instructions that people should give to Muslims are the instructions of primarily drawing closer to Allah, right? And which is what salvation on the Day of Judgment. Tell them about the Day of Judgment. Tell them about what punishments are in store and how you can be safe from them. Let them do that here and now take the appropriate steps, so it's not a worry for them later. So he says, who's a bigger criminal than the one who misguides people without knowledge? So without knowing that this is going to misguide them, maybe it will misguide them and maybe it isn't, that's bad enough. But someone how would it be then someone who knowingly knew it would misguide people and he pursued it anyway? He's worse, he's the Azlam, right? Then he says, Inna Allah, indeed Allah, the supreme, ultimate, perfect king, La yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide any people, right? So qawm here are people of power, ability, capacity, and they carry out what they start, right? Once their focus is on misleading people, then they become zalimeen. And when they do try to mislead people, when they do take the action and the steps to mislead people, they do a thorough job, right? So then who is a bigger zalim than these people? No one. And it says that Allah does not guide them, right? Nominal sentence with inna, emphasis, highly emphasized. So nominal sentence, power, focus, that this is the truth and it's not going to change. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide these people at all, right? So everything that they do, they shall regret later. But وَلَا تَحِينَ مَنَاصٍ, that the time of escaping is gone, and the time of regrets will have gone. So it's really a difficult situation for them. Allah protect us. And so we'll stop it here, and we'll so they were longer verses, but the meanings were quite generally clear. We'll stop it here, and then we'll continue from this point, inshaAllah ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.